The Hoop Heads Podcast is brought to you by Head Start Basketball.
Hey Hoopheads, wanted to take a minute to shout out our partners and friends at Dr. Dish Basketball. We've had their partnership manager and training specialist Jefferson Mason and marketing manager Nick Bartlett on the show in the past, and we couldn't be more excited about what they're doing for the game of basketball. Their Dr. Dish shooting machines are undoubtedly the most advanced and user-friendly machines on the market and truly accelerate skill development faster than ever. Beyond efficient reps, Dr. Dish provides training expertise and versatility designed to develop complete players. The new Dr. Dish CT machine has further revolutionized basketball training with over 150 plus on-demand individual and team workouts from some of the best coaches and trainers in the game. These workouts include video instruction and combine game-like shooting drills with ball handling, conditioning, and agility drills. Along with workouts, the Dr. Dish training management system also provides stat tracking and analytics to track progress and ensure accountability. These are just a few reasons why top programs like Duke, North Carolina, Louisville, Florida, Baylor, and countless others are upgrading to Dr. Dish. Learn more at drdishbasketball.com. Follow their incredible content at Dr. Dish B-Ball on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And make sure you mention the Hoopheads Podcast to get $300 off your next Dr. Dish purchase. That's a great deal, Hoopheads. Get out and get your Dr. Dish shooting machine today. Welcome to the 16th edition of the Coach's Corner Roundtable on the Hoopheads Podcast. Each episode of the Coach's Corner Roundtable will feature our all-star lineup of guests answering a single basketball question. A new Coach's Corner Roundtable will drop around the 15th of each month. April's roundtable question is, what advice would you give a young coach just entering the profession? Please enjoy this roundtable episode of the Hoopheads Podcast, and once you're finished listening, please give the show a 5-star rating and review. Make sure you're subscribed to the Hoopheads Pod so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube. If you haven't already, please tell a coaching colleague or friend about the Hoopheads Pod so they can listen and learn from some of the best minds in the game. Doug Brotherton, The Village School, Houston, Texas.
It's a really good question, and my advice to young coaches is pretty simple, pretty generic, but I think it just ends up proving true, is that you need to focus on relationships. You need to focus on the processes that you're putting in place. And those are really important. The results are really tough. That's the thing that keeps us up at night. But in reality, your processes and your ability to continue to learn and grow and adjust is what's going to lead to better long-term sustainable success. And those relationships are really kind of the lifeblood of your career. They're, what you hang your hat on. And most of the time with the players that you coach, if you don't have a relationship 10 years after they're done playing for you, I would question how impactful your job was as a basketball coach, because as we all know, basketball runs parallel to life, and there's just so many lessons to be taught, and the relationships are the best part. And then lastly, I think the best advice I got early in my coaching career was just to be authentic. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to be another coach. Really stay true to yourself, your core values, and your beliefs. And if you're able to do that and continue to build relationships and clean up your processes, you're going to have a long, fulfilling career as a coach, and it's just going to be really special to be a part of.
Erik Buehler, Chatfield Senior High School, Littleton, Colorado.
This is Erik Buehler with Chatfield Senior High School in Colorado. And this month's roundtable, we were asked, what advice would you give to young coaches just getting into the profession? First, I would say get out, coach, teach as much as you possibly can. Find every clinic, every camp you can attend, and be an active participant in the coaching. Try to get jobs coaching at any level that you can. It might be middle school, elementary age, high school even if you're just a volunteer. Go and seek out those opportunities. Next, I would say along with getting that job, those coaching jobs, find a mentor. The more you go out and coach at clinics and camps, the more you'll meet people and you'll kind of start to build that network. And you'll start to figure out, hey, I really like his style, or I like what he's doing over at this school. And then seek out that staff and see if there's an opportunity for you to come in there and participate on a regular basis coaching. But also find someone that can feed into you and pour into you and help you grow as a coach. Next, read and listen to anything you can get your hands on when it comes to coaching. And I'll even add teaching to that, because teachers are the best coaches out there. And if you're both, it helps you tenfold when it comes to this profession. But get out there, read any material you can get your hands on. We live in an age where there's basically an endless amount of information on coaching now. And someone always has a bigger and better way of doing it, and you just got to get out there and learn about it. And then finally, my last piece of advice is be great where you are. If you're a volunteer assistant coach for a freshman team at a high school, be the best dang volunteer assistant coach you can be at that level. Coach Schulman always tells a Gatorade story at the J. Billis camp. It kind of relates to this. But fill your role. If it's to take stats, be awesome at taking stats. If it's your job to break down video, be the best you can at breaking the video down. Every job is important, and really seek out ways to not only be great at it, but grow in that role. And that should help you move up in this profession very quickly. But it takes time. You need to have patience. Don't think you've got it all figured out ahead of time. That was one mistake that I made when I was a lot younger. And I've kind of humbled myself since then. The older I get, the more humble I get. It's kind of funny how that works out that way. But good luck to you all out there. It's a tough profession to move up in, but it is totally worth it at the end of the day. So thank you guys.
Chris DeLisio, Olmsted Falls High School, Olmsted Falls, Ohio.
Hey guys, Chris DeLisio, Olmsted Falls. Talking about a young coach who's just taken over a program, and or even just a young coach in general. I think one of the mistakes, that a lot of young coaches make, and it's a good mistake. They want to do so much because they are so enthusiastic, and there's so many things they've thought about doing. And when they finally get the opportunity, I think that, they really try to implement so many of those things. I'd say for a young coach, I think to start off, you got to keep it simple. And if you're building a program, you got to make sure everybody's on the same page in your program, all the way from high school all the way down to your youth program, and just simplify things and make sure your kids are skilled and your coaches are working on skills, and that's how you're going to start things. And after that, once a program is built, I think you have a little bit more freedom and opportunity, and to make things a little bit more advanced, and you start to figure out what works for you. And even though as an assistant you have a lot of great ideas, until you're thrown into the fire, you really never know how it's all going to play out. So I think for young coaches, they need to, keep it simple to start out, get everybody on the same page in your program, and you can progress from there. Thanks, guys.
Jeff Depelteau, the Berkshire School in Sheffield, Massachusetts.
What's up, Hoop Heads? This is Jeff Depelteau from Berkshire School in Sheffield, Massachusetts. Hope everybody's staying safe. I hope you're able to enjoy some time with your family, stay connected with your friends, and obviously use this time to learn and grow. So with that, this month's roundtable prompt is, what advice would you give a young coach just entering the profession? So for me, the biggest advice that I would give any young coach would be to develop some authentic relationships with peers, with coaches who have had a lot more experience than you, because you're going to gain a lot through authentic relationships. The ability to share, the ability to maybe text, share film, just talk through issues with with peers, and know that it's coming from a really good, authentic place where everybody's trying to help each other. I've done things. I've got a group of friends in coaching. We have a group chat that goes on throughout an entire basketball season, and we'll share clips of possessions that are kind of head scratchers to us. Oftentimes we may send full games and ask each other, hey, what would your scouting report be on our team? And so we share that and just look to help each other out and help our teams out. But by kind of getting a fresh set of eyes with people that really don't have any skin in the game. And so that the feedback you're getting is truly honest from their perspective, and it's there to help you out. So that is huge, to develop those authentic relationships. And in basketball, just like in anything, there's a lot of relationships that aren't authentic. If you go to, convention, the Final Four, or a coaching conference, or clinics, oftentimes you see it all the time. You see the bro hugs that are not authentic. There's not much there beyond that. And you want to get beyond those surface relationships when you're looking to grow. The second thing that I would say is really twofold. You want to be on this never-ending quest to improve as a coach. And when you get into it, everybody, I think, has a sense that they know a really good amount and can help a program. But constantly being on this seek and find mission, and that comes from Kevin Eastman, former Celtics and Clippers assistant coach, and he works with a lot of coaches in mentoring. But it's really, you're always on this quest to learn more, find ways that you can apply what you learn to your team. And then the last thing that I would say would be this ability to listen and learn. And for a lot of coaches, this is hard. You get together with the coaches and you almost want to share all the knowledge you have and show how much you know. And, but the ability to listen and learn is really huge, especially when you're in a situation, you're in a room where you're not the smartest, best coach, most experienced coach. You really can learn. And so for young coaches who want to get out there, that are eager to show all they know, and sometimes the best thing you can do is listen and learn from those who've already been through it. And those are great ways to learn. So everybody stay safe, stay well, and look forward to continue to contribute to this roundtable. Take care, guys.
Head Start Basketball, along with members of the J. Skills Camp staff, will be hosting the very first Prime Skills Camp, an affiliate of the J. Skills Camp that is held annually in Charlotte, North Carolina. Prime Skills Camp will take place on the campus of Western Reserve Academy, just outside of Cleveland, Ohio, June 26th through the 28th, and will be designed for boys rising to grades 6 through 9. Prime Skills Camp will mirror the J. Skills Camp in daily programming, teaching, coach-to-camper ratio, and quality of instruction. Prime Skills Camp brings all of the team-oriented individual instruction, focus on the fundamentals, and high-level coaching to young men aspiring to a high school varsity basketball experience. This camp is operated by Billis Camp veterans and includes the J. Billis Coaches Development Program alongside the camp, ensuring that the quality of teaching and coaching at this camp is second to none. Please visit headstartbasketball.com or jbilliscamp.com for more information or to get registered. Jason Fry, Pure Sweat Basketball.
What's up, Hoopheads Nation? It's Coach Jay Fry here, answering the roundtable question of what advice would you give a young coach just entering the profession? The one piece I would say is to master a part of the game, a piece of the game, a portion of the game, whether it's offense or defense, whether it's screening, whether it's ball screen, whether it's transition, whether it's defensive positioning, whether it's trapping, blitzing, or pressing. It doesn't matter what it is, but master one piece of it. This way, in games, you know exactly how to attack it from an offensive standpoint or a defensive standpoint. If you know all the offensive reads, then that means that you know exactly what to do against every single type of defense. If you know all the defensive actions to do, then that means that from an offensive standpoint, you could say, hey, they're doing this, so we automatically know that they're how to attack it from this angle. Okay, so we are always going to have an option to be able to help serve your coach live in games. This also gives you a heads up in terms of what to do one year and then now the next year to learn something new, to master something new. So the goal would be to go 5 years mastering one new topic. And if that's the case, then you are going to better be able to serve your head coach and be in a better position to move forward as a head coach later on. You will have mastered 5 new things in 5 years. That's going to set you up for some great success. I hope this helps. God bless.
Joe Harris, Lake Chelan High School, Lake Chelan, Washington.
This is Joe Harris at Chelan High School. Today's roundtable question asks us, what advice would you give a young coach just entering the profession? There's 2 bits of advice that I think could benefit young coaches. There's coaching, and then there's being a coach. You need to keep the coaching part simple. Don't try to do too much, and just let your experience shape who you are and make you better. You always keep learning, and just because someone else does it doesn't mean it fits your style or fits your program. Being a coach is intangible. It gives you longevity in this game. Be passionate about the people in the game and those people in it. Take time to get to know your players on a human level. And don't forget about those people that are in your family and those who you work with. All the while you strive to get the best out of your team and individuals without taking shortcuts. This helps create an identity that is not on the outcome of the scoreboard, because really a great day as a coach is having an impact or being able to influence a player's or staff member's life, and you can do that a lot of times through the actions you have with those individuals.
Dell Leonard, Mountain Home High School, Mountain Home, Arkansas.
This month's roundtable question, what advice would you give a young coach just entering the profession? I'll bounce around a little bit on this, but I just kind of brainstormed, and the first thing that came to my mind is, if at all possible, try to be an assistant coach first, especially if you can get a job in a program with a proven veteran head coach, even if that means you have to take the 7th grade job. I honestly believe that it takes about 3 to 5 years, if not a little bit longer, for a new coach to get comfortable in their own skin, to develop that confidence and their own philosophy. And if you can do that under a great mentor, great coach, then you're going to be set up better in the long run. It'll save you a lot of headaches. Be a sponge. Learn. Educate yourself as much as possible. And you do that by trying to go watch as many practices as you can. Go watch. Don't just go watch the great coaches. Go watch football practices. Go watch 7th grade practices. Go watch people practice, and you will learn something every time. Even if it's something you're like, I don't know if I want to do that, or we're not going to do things that way, you still have learned something. Read books. Watch videos. Nowadays, especially right now with this pandemic, there's so many free online clinics that you could really enhance your knowledge during this time. Develop relationships with great coaches. Don't be afraid to reach out to other coaches. All of the great ones want to grow the game. And if someone doesn't get back to you, then you don't want to get to know them anyway. So the great ones are going to grow the game, and they're going to continue to help carry on this great profession that we have. Work camps and clinics. Again, reach out and email and call and ask to go work university camps. Ask to go work camps like Snow Valley and 5 Star and different camps and clinics like that. Even if you have to travel and work long hours, it doesn't matter. It's going to benefit you so much more in the long run. So you got to be willing to do that. I think you got to be willing to do all of this even after you've been coaching for a long time. But by going out and working camps and clinics and going to watch practice and those type things, you're going to network yourself. And again, it'll pay off in the long run. Just some other things, not in any particular order. Don't be friends with parents. Especially if their kids are playing for you. You can't be friends with them. You can't hang out with them and socialize them without it coming back on you. They're going to reach out to you as a young coach, and they're going to pursue you. And you may think that they think you're the greatest thing in the world, but they really, really have ulterior motives. And most of them want to be your friend, not because of you, but because of their kid and the fact that their kid is playing for you. Do your job in the classroom. We talk about academics coming first. You've got to be the example on that as well. So do your job in the classroom. The administration will appreciate you, and take care of your duties, your before school duties, your lunch duties, things like that, detention hall duties and things that you're supposed to do those things, and administration will take care of you. Attend faculty meetings, potlucks, etc., things like that. The more support that you give to other teachers and develop those relationships with other teachers, the more it's going to help you in your program to do the things that you want to do. Also, I think you need to develop strong relationships with the custodians, the secretaries, the lunch ladies, cafeteria ladies. Those people are the salt of the earth when it comes to school systems. I can't tell you how many times our secretaries have helped me out in a situation where maybe I was afraid I wasn't going to meet a deadline or something, or reminded me of something important that was coming up. So those three areas there, those people there, the custodians, the secretaries, and the cafeteria ladies, are worth their weight in gold. Have a great rapport again with administration. Get to know the other coaches in your league for scouting purposes. Also, when you have a kid that you feel like deserves to be all conference or all state or something like that, then the better relationship that you have with those other coaches, the more it's going to help your kids. Getting involved with the community is always something that's important. Picking up trash, helping load trucks, unload trucks for the food bank, taking food to the food banks, trying to serve dinner maybe to a group that's not very fortunate, Toys for Tots around Christmas time. Just do those things, but do them being yourself. Don't do them because you're trying to, make yourself or your program look better, but explain to your kids that you want to do these things and you want to help out. Big one, be involved. Be very involved with your Pee Wee basketball program, with your younger grades. I think you got to ultimately be honest, tell the truth, care about your players as people, not just basketball players. Know about their families and their situations at home. And I've learned these things from a lot of the really good coaches, and they've helped me. And again, I think you got to continue to do these things, but I think that's the best advice I would give to a young coach entering the profession.
Nick LoGalbo, Lane Tech High School, Chicago, Illinois.
This is Nick LoGalbo from Lane Tech High School in Chicago. This roundtable question is, what advice would you give a young coach just entering the profession? And I think the best piece of advice that I could give would be to really get in touch with your why. I think getting into the coaching profession can be a very convoluted journey, and there's a lot of highs and lows, and there's a lot of twists and turns. And I think that we very easily can get distracted and see what other people are doing with their programs, or see other people we work with climbing the coaching ladder and getting into college or professionals, and lose sight of maybe why we do what we do. I think it's really important that if you're going to enter this profession, that you really reflect on why you want to do this. And I think that every day when you get up, having your why drive your decision making, it will really keep you on track, because it can be very easy to get distracted, like I said, and look at what everybody else is doing and how everybody else is doing it. But when you know your why and you get down to your purpose, your how and what take care of themselves. For me, it was always about, I want to impact lives, and I want to do it teaching the game the right way, and I want the game to be a vessel and a tool to help young men become better people. And I want our program to stand for something bigger than wins and losses. I want it to shape lives. And I think that if we do things the right way and compete at a high level doing things the right way, that the winning will take care of itself. So that's some advice that I would share. I hope this is helpful, and looking forward to hear what everyone else has to say. Be well, be safe. This crazy time. It's great to have such a strong community of coaches to band together and to continue to learn from. So thanks again for all you're doing, Mike and Jason, and talk soon.
Coaches, we've teamed up with Coach Tyler Whitcomb so you can now purchase his exclusive new playbooks right from the Hoopheads Pod website. If you're looking for ways to improve your team next season, these playbooks blend affordability with the quality content that serious coaches are looking for. Just visit hoopheadspod.com/store and you'll find playbooks from John Calipari of Kentucky, Leonard Hamilton from Florida State, and Mike Young of Virginia Tech. Check out these great resources at hoopheadspod.com/store. William Payne, head coach, University of Miami, Hamilton.
Hey guys, this is William Payne, head coach at Miami University, Hamilton, and the owner-operator of the college basketball process. It's been a while since I added my 2 cents into the roundtable discussion, but this is one that I'm actually getting quite often, so I decided to jump in on this one. First, I want to hope you guys are safe and doing okay, but I think the question is very dependent on what level of coaching the person is getting into. I think it looks very different for somebody entering the coaching profession at the high school level versus the college level versus the pro levels. So for me, I'm going to speak on the college level since that's primarily what I've done. I think for someone that's wanting to break into the coaching profession, it comes down to one simple thing prior to doing so, and that is truly deciding whether or not they want to do it. And I know that that sounds crazy, but I believe that that's very important because once you make that decision, you have to understand that there's no middle ground. The profession calls for complete and total commitment, unlike very few things I've ever been a part of. So you have to understand what you're getting yourself into, and you have to know that there's no middle ground. You'll either have to do it all of the time or none of the time. And so really understanding that prior to going into the profession or prior to making that decision, you have to determine whether or not you're able to give it your all. You're going to sacrifice so many family events, so much family time, so much time, that you'd be doing other things, family vacations, graduations, kids' games. It's going to require time from you unlike anything. So go into it knowing that that's what you're willing to do, that you're going to be putting in 12, 13, 14, 15-hour days, road trips, all of these things that require so much time, and that the basketball aspect of it only comes into play about 20% of the time. 80% of what you're going to be doing is non-basketball related activities, driving, recruiting, even though that's basketball, but I mean, the basketball games and practice is only going to be about 15 to 20%. Scouting, phone work, academic studies, following up with players, dealing with issues, equipment management, and all these other things that come along with coaching that is often overlooked. So that's my number one piece of advice is really sit back and think about if you want to do it. And if so, are you able to go all in or are you not? Because if you're not, more than likely you should make the decision not to coach. You guys have a great one.
Mark Schultz, University of West Georgia.
What's going on, guys? Mark Schultz with the University of West Georgia. Thanks for having me on. This month's question: what advice would you give a young coach entering the profession? Some advice that I would give to other coaches entering the profession is a bit cliche, but be where your feet are. Whatever level you're working at, you've got to make that be the most important one ahead. The old saying is if you're too busy looking at the next job, you'll forget to do your current job. And I think it's true. In this profession, it's extremely competitive. And the reality is that if you work hard and you do a good job where you're at, that's just going to give you a chance. It's just going to give you a chance to move on to the next level or to a higher level, depending on what your goals are. So the best advice to give is just work your tail off, right? Be willing to sacrifice. Never say no to any basketball opportunities you get. And really just focus on being the best version of yourself you can be in whatever your current situation is. I think if you do that, if you really focus on where you're at, ultimately that'll open up more doors down the road than than if you're only focused on the next step. Thanks for having me on, and we'll see you next month.
Dave Severns from the Los Angeles Clippers.
My advice to the Hoop Heads podcast for young coaches: don't get married. And if you do or are married, you better have a very understanding wife if you're going to be in this crazy business.
Don Showalter, USA Basketball.
Hi, Don Showalter here from USA Basketball. Question for today is, what advice would you give a young coach that's just starting out? I think there's three things I would say. First of all, work really hard at where you're at the job you have, whether it be a middle school job, whether it be coaching youth basketball, assistant coach, head coach, but really work hard at where you're at. Try to develop that program as best you can without thinking that down the road you're going to be somewhere else. So I think that's the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say is be a sponge. Be a sponge in that you really try to accumulate knowledge, not only from internet stuff, but also attend clinics and camps to learn from people and get a mentor. I think when you have a mentor, then they can certainly help you with different things that come up in your coaching profession. I think mentors are good for any coach who has coached any number of years. We all need mentors. And the third thing is try to increase your network. Your network is really important. I think just from the standpoint of your program, work camps, work clinics, go to clinics, kind of goes along with being a sponge. But if you're going to increase your network, you need to get out and show people what you can do. And a lot of times people don't know what you can do until you go to camps and clinics. So I think those are three things that I would certainly recommend for a young coach just starting. Thank you.
John Schulman, University of Alabama Huntsville, and the 720 Sports Group.
Yes, this is John Schulman, head coach at University of Alabama in Huntsville, UAH. And the question was what advice that I would give to a young coach entering the profession. A couple things. I guess number one is two things: connect and collect. Connect with people. Connect with people, as many people as you can, in a genuine way. Problem is, people know if you're being genuine, and people know if you're just BSing them and want to connect for a certain reason. But I would connect and then collect names, collect people. Don't forget people. I don't know how you want to do it. We used to, back in the day, have a Rolodex or put, we used to use business cards back in the day. You can use your phone, but, I would connect with a lot of people and then collect a lot of people. And if you're a college coach and you're connecting to high school coaches, make sure that you're just not connecting when you need something, when they got a player, and then you don't ever call them again until they have another player. Connect often and collect as many people as you can in your world. Next is learn. Keep learning. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen twice as much as you talk. That's kind of hard for me, but ask my wife. But listen and learn. Keep learning. Take your summers and get organized, but learn. Take a particular specific area of the game and learn from others, but keep learning as you go. Work where you are and have 2 feet in. Don't be one of those guys that the grass is always greener on the other side. So work where you are. People are watching you work. So you don't have to self-promote and to move up in this world. You just got to work. And if you're successful, people will recognize that. You just got to work, and you got to grind. Make sure that you're giving credit to your staff or your head coach or the players. Don't be that guy. Don't be an I guy. Be a we guy. I think you better take I out of your vocabulary. Make sure that there's a we. We did this and we did that. And so I don't think you can be an I guy. Be organized. Your organizational skills. If I was a young guy, I don't know. I would talk to Doug Brotherton down at the Village School down in Texas, because he worked with Fast Draw, and I would be writing down all my sets. I would be keeping them on a computer. We didn't have that back in the day when I was young. So I've lost notebook after notebook. I don't even know where half my sets are. So I would be very organized and start getting organized as soon as you enter this profession. So by the end of it, you already know what's going on and where you can find everything. But just the whole thing, keep on improving, use your summers to improve, work and grind. If you just work and your work ethic is uncommon, people will notice. Just to be honest, coaches come in this profession, if it's work, it's probably not the right profession for you, because you're going to be underpaid and overworked. But there is no better profession that I have seen or know of than being a basketball coach. Hope this helps.
Hey everyone, last year at the Junior NBA Summit, I came across an amazing company called iSport360 and its founder, Ian Goldberg. Their youth sports app gets coaches, players, and parents on the same page. Your team can set goals, share player feedback, training videos, sticker rewards, player evals, and practice assignments. All of this to foster a healthy team communication and culture. If your team or club struggles to keep open lines of communication, especially among team parents, iSport360 can help. If you want to empower your athletes to have more success, more confidence, and more communication with their teammates, give iSport360 a try today. Shoot me an email, mike@hoopheadspod.com, or give me a call at 216-392-4059 to learn more. Joe's Decision. Unleash Potential, Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Joe's Decision, Unleash Potential. This month's question is, what advice would you give a young coach just entering the profession? First of all, I just want to say I hope everyone out there is doing okay in this very difficult situation, difficult time, and are staying safe and healthy. But to answer this question, there's about 5 or 6 points I'd just like to cover in general about advice I would give a young coach just now entering the profession. I think probably the most important thing is, we all have coaches that we have looked up to, mentors, people we have studied, and I think we get a lot of our ideas from those different kinds of coaches. But I think, and it's okay to emulate or take some things from all those coaches, but I think you have to always be yourself in coaching. I think you have to take things from other people and make them your own. I really don't think you can completely just copy someone's style or someone's, way of doing things. I think it's just really important that you always be yourself when you're coaching and just incorporate different things and tweak those things and make them your own. So first of all, I think that's really, really important. The other thing, and I spoke about this, almost every clinic that I do, I speak about this, and it's an acronym. The word is REUP, and it's REUP. I think in any coaching situation, this is very important. The R stands for rapport. I think the first thing you have to develop as a coach, you have to develop a rapport with your players, to get a buy-in from your players and a trust. And not only players or parents, whoever it is in your program, administrators, athletic directors, principals, you need to develop a rapport. I really think your key to success is relationships. I think you have to develop good relationships with all these people, including your players. And then when you're dealing with your teams, I think that the E stands for explore. I think you have to explore, how you're going to do this, how you're going to run your team, how you're going to run your program. And then I think the next thing is you have to make the players understand what it is you're trying to do, okay, in terms of maybe, team development, individual development, game strategy, all those types of things. And then obviously the last thing is a plan. You always have to have a plan, whether it's a practice plan, whether it's a game plan, pre-game plan, post-game plan, debriefing the game, breaking down games, whatever the situation entails. So I really like to use that, the REUP, the REUP. I just think that's a really, really important concept. I don't think you can go wrong if you follow that model in your coaching and you're dealing with people. And then the other thing is when you're just starting out your program, I think one of the most important things as a coach is you have to find loyal assistants. Sometimes I even believe, you can sacrifice a little bit of knowledge for someone who is very loyal and someone who has buy-in to what you're trying to do. Because if you're in a situation, you don't have coaches that are loyal to you, and they're when things go wrong, they're second guessing you to other people and all those kinds of things. I think loyalty is the biggest thing. And I always felt as a coach, you need to have your best coaches down at the lower levels. If you're a head high school coach, I think you have to have some very, very good people down at your middle school levels, because that's the foundation of your program. That's where they really have to learn the basics of what you're trying to do. And, that's why I always felt that it was very important you have some very, very good coaches and people down at the middle school levels. And along with that, advice I give to a new young coach is you need to have a feeder system, a feeder program. So, we always ran a elementary program, and we always had great, great volunteers down there. We brought on people who were willing to volunteer their time because they weren't paid positions. They would come in and we'd have preseason meetings and talk to them about what we like to see with our feeder program. I just think those programs are very, very important. You have very, very good people down there in your feeder programs. And also getting back to being yourself, I think you have to be a learn-it-all. There's always know-it-alls and there's learn-it-alls. And I like to see when young coaches are learn-it-alls, that they're willing to go to clinics. Like we have the USA Basketball Academies that are very, very good. And we've had a lot of young coaches go to those, and not only young coaches, veteran coaches, and just develop we talk about player development. There's coach development also. So always working on your coaching craft, your coaching skills. So I think, go to as many clinics as you can go to as many camps, work as many camps as you can and learn from other people. I've been in this business for a long time, and I'm still learning. I'm learning every day. I try to learn every day. I try to learn off of other people, as many people as I can. So becoming a learn-it-all is very, very important also. And also an off-season program. It used to be many, many years ago that, basketball was just during the winter season, but it's gotten so competitive now that you have to have, preseason open gyms. You have to have summer programs, summer leagues. You have to do individual development with your players at different times during the year. So, just to make sure that you have a good off-season program. And by saying that, encourage kids to play other sports. I don't feel like you should tell kids not to play football or not to play baseball. I think all the data shows that the more sports kids play, the better off they are, and college programs like that, multiple sport athletes. So I just think you have to encourage them to do other things too. As far as rules, I really don't like having a lot of rules. I would rather tell a young coach that you should have standards. What are the things your program stands for? And I think that, if you have great standards and you have the players enforce those standards between themselves, a player-led team is much better than a coach-led team. So I think if you have standards for your team rather than rules, because if you put a lot of rules out there, rules are made to be broken, but standards are a way of doing things that you do every day and what you accept and what are non-negotiables. Those kinds of things I think are very, very important. And also I like to use this term. You want to be a good coach or do you want to be a nice coach? Let me give you the difference here. Okay, you don't want to be a nice coach. A nice coach allows kids to do whatever they want to do, and you don't hold kids accountable. A good coach will hold kids accountable and players accountable, because players and kids will do what you allow them to do. And I don't mean this in a negative way. I just think as a good coach, you're holding them accountable, maybe not telling them what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. And it goes back to that rapport for re-up. The better relationship and the better rapport you have as a coach, the more you're going to be able to be truthful and honest with your players. Okay. And I just really think that, and I call it the price of nice. Are you willing to pay the price of being too nice? You're not there to be their best friend. You're there to be a positive leader, mentor, and someone that's not only going to teach them about basketball, but the game of life. So I really like that use that term when I speak all over the country. I use that a lot. You want to be a good coach, not a nice coach. You don't want to have to pay that price of being nice. I always tell coaches that price of nice is very, very, very expensive, because at some point that nice is going to get you into trouble, because you have to hold kids accountable in a positive way, and because they will do what you allow them to do. So overall, I think those things are the main things that I would share with a young coach. And probably the last thing, coaches ask me this all the time, how do you deal with parents? Well, there's been coaches that say, I won't talk to parents. There are going to be coaches that will be the other way and try to be best friends with the parents. I think just like in every other situation, you have to have a relationship. You have to have a rapport. You cannot just tune out parents today, because so many parents are involved in every aspect of kids' lives. And they look at kids a lot differently than you do, because you have to look at a bunch of different kids when they're looking at their kid. But I think you have to have an open relationship with parents. I think that, one thing that I always told a parent is, I won't discuss anybody else's playing time. I'm not going to come in and talk about about somebody else's kid. My door is always open to talk to parents about issues, but I encourage parents and players, if they have an issue with playing time or something like that, they need to come in. The player needs to come in and talk in a mature way, talk to the coach about playing time or something like that. They're the kind of things that I just wouldn't engage with a parent. I think you have to set some boundaries, but you have to have a relationship with parents. And another thing I tell young coaches, the last thing is, I think you have to tell players that they have to, fairness is earned. Okay. Fairness is earned. Fair does not mean equal. I'll be fair with each and every one of you, but it does not mean equal playing time. I think, they have to understand that up front. So there are just some things that I think has worked very well for me when I was a high school coach for many years, and also a college coach. I just think that there are some things that could really help a young coach, and I hope you're able to use some of those ideas. Thank you very much.
Lee Swanson, Bunker Hill High School, Claremont, North Carolina.
This month's question was, what advice would we give to coaches getting in the profession? I'll probably break it into about three things. The first thing would be understand that you're going to fail, and you're going to do that a lot, and how you handle that and how you move forward will determine a lot about your coaching, because you're going to experience failure at some point, and it may be years of it, maybe months of it, maybe a decision, but how you handle that is going to be a big deal, as whether you're probably going to be able to stay in it or not. Two, I would say you're never too old to stop learning. You're never too old to go to another clinic, to listen to another, clinic online or something of that nature. The more you learn, the better you become. And you'll be a lot better coach at 35 than you were at 25 if you do that. And then lastly, I would say maybe even most important thing is really everything is relationship based. And I don't care if that's with your players or your staff or even other coaches or whomever. If you can develop relationships, then coaching is going to be a pretty meaningful profession. If it's all about winning and losing, I think you'll find within some time that doing that becomes pretty hollow, whichever way you do it, win or lose, and that you're not going to be as fulfilled as you could be. So I hope you guys take that advice and apply it, and thanks for having me on.
Ryan Virtue, Positive Coaching Alliance, Cleveland, Ohio.
The biggest piece of advice that I would give to a young coach just starting out in the coaching profession is know and understand that you coach people first. You coach the athlete first and the sport second. You really need to know and understand the heart and mind of an athlete in order to maximize their body.
Todd Wolfson, St. Francis High School, La Cañada, California.
How you doing? This is Todd Wolfson from St. Francis High School, the head varsity basketball coach. And I'm going to answer the question today, what advice would I give a young coach? The answer to that, to me, is one that I got when I was just coming up as a coach. And it seems pretty simple, but it actually makes a lot of sense. And that advice to me is that I was given was do the best at your current job and stop looking forward towards other jobs. I think sometimes coaches, especially young ones, they want to get ahead so quick. So they start out as lower level high school coaches or assistant coaches or graduate assistants, and they're constantly looking forward to that next job. What can I do in that next job? Where am I going to go after this? What's going to be my next path? Am I going to be a head coach next? Am I going to be an assistant coach next? And instead, they lose sight of doing the best at their current job. And then with that, they don't do as well. They're not as impressive as a coach. They're not as impressive as a graduate assistant. They don't really focus on that current job, which hurts them in getting promoted. So they don't really get promoted because they're so focused on that next job. So my advice always is, and the best probably advice I received in this is, whenever you get a job, focus on that job. Be the best that you possibly can at that job. And then hopefully the next one will just take care of itself instead of focusing on that next job. So that's my advice to a young coach. Hope everyone is staying healthy, staying safe during these times. And once again, Todd Wolfson from St. Francis High School. Thanks.
Thanks for checking out this month's Roundtable. We'll be back next month with another question for our all-star lineup of coaches. Registration is now open at headstartbasketball.com for this summer's Head Start basketball camps. We'll be hosting camps for boys and girls in grades 1 through 6 throughout the greater Cleveland area. Get registered today and make sure you hit the courts with us this summer. Being without basketball right now is tough for all of us. So we've partnered with Pro Skills Basketball to offer you a 50% discount on their Ultimate Shooting Guide and video program that will put players on a guided path to becoming the best shooter they can be. With 1 year's worth of workouts that includes games, drills, and competitions, players will gain access to a blueprint showing them what it takes to become an elite level shooter. If you're looking to improve your shooting at home, this program can help. Visit hoopheadspod.com/store to check it out.
Thanks for listening to the Hoop Heads podcast, presented by Head Start Basketball.